looking like a baby in the corn. I put the water in the ocean in the city that I'm from.
What's goody, guys? Welcome back to Why Now with Books with your girl Kay. I know it's been about a year and some change since I made a video. Your girl did not have a good 2025, and the beginning of 2026 has been rough, but I'm excited to be back. I missed you guys. Also, just to be transparent, when I was doing the reviews, like, it started becoming like a job and not fun anymore, and I wasn't reading as I wanted to, so I think the break was what was best for me. But I've seen you guys commenting on the videos that I have posted up, asking when I'm coming back. Your girl is officially back. I've been reading more. I've read a ton of books that I want to review. I don't know where to start with. I'll probably start with the one that I finished last night, which is called Bookmarked by Bella J. I really like Bella J's stories. Like, it keep me engaged. You guys know that I am a thriller girl. However, your girl has been reading a little bit more of black romance, and I must say, I kind of like it, so I'm kind of, but thriller is still my genre. I hope all you guys are doing well. I am back to taking recommendations. I have like 2 recommendations left from, oh my gosh, 2024. I think it's 2024 or the beginning of 2025 that I have to do. So I'll get to them. But your girl is back and in full effect. So let's just hop into Bookmarked by Bella J. So imagine being with a man or female for 15 years. You guys met in college. That's the love of your life. Like, it's been you two since the beginning of college, right? And you are now in your 30s, and the trajectory that you think you were going in when it came to your career has changed. So this is the story. We got Books, which is her nickname. Her name is Brooklyn. And we got Jux. Well, his name is Elgin, right? And I'm just going to say Elgin is like the perfect guy. Like, he's not perfect, but like an ideal guy, right? Communicative, supportive, provider, protector, lover, friend, leader, all of what you can ask for. Of course, he has his flaws, but however, he's able to work through it and be the man that Books, well, the nickname for her is actually Books, not Brooks, Books, right? Needs. However, he is a successful actor. He fell into acting by accident, and he blew up, right? And she has degrees in Spanish. However, she supported his acting career, which he's very thankful for, but she kind of lost herself in him, and she didn't have an identity outside of herself, right? So she's happy. She loves him deeply to the depths of her soul. And then one day she leaves him with a letter asking for a divorce. So he's caught off guard, right? And when I read that, I'm like, it instantly like annoyed me, right? Not the fact that she asked for the divorce, but how she asked for it. And I'm like, you have to give relationships and people the respect that it's due, right? At no given time, unless it's like safety concerns involved, in my opinion, should you end a relationship with someone that you respect through written form of communication. I have experienced that, and it's not a good feeling, right? Because at the end of the day, especially when there's longevity, you want that person, regardless of what the circumstances is, I think a face-to-face or phone conversation is warranted versus written. However, I do know that some people are unable to articulate their feelings, but at the same time, I just feel like you should try verbal. Like, that's just the respect a relationship is due, especially when you say you really love someone and care for someone. So I didn't appreciate like how she did that. Of course, the author explains why she did that, but in my opinion, like, there's just not an excuse unless, like I said, there's safety concerns. If you guys agree or disagree, drop it in the comments. Anyway, so she disappears for a couple days. She files for divorce. He agrees to the divorce, right? After a couple days, she came back, explained briefly, like a rudimentary understanding of why she needed a divorce. She needed to find herself, and he agreed because at the end of the day, he didn't like what she did, and he still agreed to it, right? And the thing is, and I think this comes with men a lot. Men kind of put their feelings aside for the betterment of their family, for the betterment of their partner, right? Not all men, but men do that, right? And he loved her so much that he was just like, he suppressed what he was feeling to make sure that she was comfortable, even though he didn't agree with the divorce. So a week before the divorce is finalized, he comes up with an idea. He's like, yo, Brooks, let's go. I'm planning the idea to go on a divorce honeymoon or divorce moon, something like that, divorce moon. And she's second guessing, like, I love him, like, if I go here, he's going to try to change my mind about the divorce, and I don't want him to change my mind. Long story short, she ends up going on the trip, right? So they come up with a rule where they're going to ask, the trip is 5 days. Each day there's a question. They come up with questions, either fun or serious, put it in a little bag and they pick from it, right? So there's a lot of questions that he wants answered and she wants to know. But the main thing for her is that she's afraid to truly know how he feels, right? Because, she feels guilty about how she asked for the divorce, but she's also afraid of like how his feelings is going to play out, because it comes to a point where she's able to identify through therapy that she was exhibiting people-pleasing behaviors, but she's codependent on him, right? And codependency, not just in a basic standpoint where, her mood is dependent on his mood. Like, she couldn't be away from him. When he's acting and stuff like that, he's getting new jobs, she's happy for him, but she's also scared and she becomes depressed because she just needed to be up under him. And, it's clowning her. She didn't have anything for herself. Yes, she had a degree, but, when he became successful, it was kind of like, he did everything in her power to make her happy, but her identity was wrapped up in him, right? So she didn't have an identity of her own, so she didn't know who she was, right? He knew who he was outside of the relationship because he had a successful career. Not to say that she's not driven, she was driven. It's just that she lost herself being able to supporting her man, basically, right? And she was feeling this way for years. And it doesn't stop the love, but love is never enough. Like, you have to have your foundation with your relationship, but you have to have a foundation with yourself. And she didn't have that. He did. So on the trip, she gives in, they having a little spicy sex. He got like his characters, like the humor, the fun banter. Like, I love their connection. I love how they vibe together. But there was also moments of seriousness, right? Where there was confronting truth. There was confronting feelings and getting the clarity that they needed with respect to one another, right? So I enjoyed that, even though the conversations was difficult and they had like a moment where the one wanted to shut down, they still came back together with like the funny banter of food. And he paid attention to all her external needs, but internally, he missed the mark. But at the same time, I could also argue that if you as an individual do not communicate with your partner what you're feeling, there's no way that your partner is going to be able to know your needs and wants. And I'm think that maybe she just felt, I don't want to say inferior, maybe she just didn't know what she was feeling in order to communicate that with him, or I don't know. It's just a whole bunch of emotions and feelings that go into when it comes to yourself, right? And I feel like for her, space was needed. And at first, as I'm reading, I'm like, dang, like, you couldn't ask for a separation. But in the end, she needed to get asked for the divorce, because at the end of the day, you can't ask for someone to wait for you. Like, you may love them, but that's a big ask. That's a lot of pressure, right? And it's also pressure for her, per the book too, that she would have to kind of rush her journey and finding herself with the pressure of trying to get back to her partner, right? So it kind of, she wouldn't have been able to process everything that she needed to process. She didn't want to let the relationship go, but she needed to let the relationship go. And he finally got to understanding about why she asked for the divorce, and he wholeheartedly supported it, right? After she became like honest. She was honest in the beginning, but she wasn't transparent. So that transparency really provided clarity for him. He also comes from a 2-parent household, so her asking for the divorce is kind of put in a dimmer. His parents was married for like 40 years, so it's like he never saw that as an ending. Like, it's always been her. And one thing I love about this book, she's a book lover, right? Like, she has a book podcast. She just lover of books like I am, and so many other people, right? So what he did for the divorce moon, she has a favorite book, and from the favorite book, he started acting out scenes. So, for example, her favorite book was centered around a lake house. He booked a lake house. Then it was set around like they went to like a sex store, and there was like a part where the two characters was like venturing on their sex journey. So they did that. There was a part where they was watching the sunset on the beach. There was a part where like they did like treats with cups, chocolate covered strawberries in like a hot tub. So the divorce moon was very intimate, like, and she finally got an idea of like how much details he paid attention to. Like, he listened to all her rant about the books. Like, I feel like I would love a man to talk to rant about books with, who pay attention to my favorite books, who pay attention to the details, right? And she would annotate her books, and she would mark her books depending on the color. So like, I don't remember all the colors, but like red would mean like, let's say, I'm probably gonna get this wrong. Red would mean like something intimate. I should probably pull it up. But red would mean like something intimate, funny, something that she wants to come back to. Like the colors represented something different. And then he would get bookmarks made, like representing that specific scene. And it was just so beautiful. Like, that attention to detail was so beautiful, and I loved everything about it. And the main thing that he kept saying was like, this divorce moon, I just want 5 days with you that resemble some normalcy, right? Because they knew that when they get back, the divorce papers will be signed, set in, and the divorce will be finalized. Well, the divorce papers were already signed, but the divorce will be finalized by the judge, right? So they were dreading that. For her, she didn't like the spotlight. He's an extrovert, she's an introvert. So being in the spotlight when it came to her his career was a lot for her. She didn't like to go out in public, like, and then she felt like she was in his shadow. But that also stemmed from issues that she had in childhood, because she has an older sister, Athena, who's an Olympian. Then she has a younger sister, but she also has a mother who kind of put the siblings against each other, and like, oh, you have to be like this extraordinary person, and you have to live up to kind of standards, and Athena lived up to those standards. And however, books felt like she fell short, right? I also loved her sister Ingrid. So being in her sister's shadow growing up, being in her husband's shadow, it's like that you feel inferior, like you feel like you have nothing going on. It's like you need to know who you are. And I'm glad that she had like that supportive team. Yes, no, her family members didn't want them to break up. She's also cool with Juk's sister, like they like sister-in-law besties. So it was just like a good read, a good understanding of like how family dynamics could to intertwine, how love can come together, but also a good depiction that love is just never enough. That if anything, that you have to enable to love someone healthy, and not let your love be as toxic as it can be. You have to establish a foundation of yourself. You have to have something outside of your person. So God forbid, like, that relationship ends, you have something to fall back on. And I think that a lot of us fall short of that, right? We have a lot of trauma that we need to unpack. Some trauma may be conscious, some trauma may be unconscious, but there's things that we need to be able to navigate through in order to have a good, healthy foundation. And I commend her for walking away from love. I commend her from walking away from everything that she knew that was safe, that was comforting, right, that felt familiar, because doing new things is fair, right? It's fearful. However, when we allow fear to take the driver's seat and we take a back seat, that's when things go astray. I think fear can be healthy. I think fear can be positive. I think fear can be a driving factor. However, fear should not stop us from living, right? And a lot of us can attest to that. But I mean, there was a lot of sex scenes in here, a lot of raunchy sex scenes. I'm like, okay, freaky freak. He's also her first, so there was that, right? But I love their dynamic, and they kept saying like, there'll be a sequel. He kept saying like, basically like he didn't outright say that he'll wait for her, but he's like, it's always been you. And until next time, until the second sequel, like he put a bookmark at the end, like at the end. The last gift that he gave her was like a book of their story, where like their wedding photos, things that she could write in, like a whole bunch of memories, and he put a bookmark at the end, basically saying like it's not the end, but this is where it stops for now until the sequel, right? So until he's willing to wait, based on what I figured from the end, he's willing to wait for her to find who she is, come back to him, and then they start their second journey. So, and I also think it helped him realize as a man, like, you can be a provider. You can be the lover and everything that your partner needs, but there's some things that you can't fix, right? And a lot of men want to be fixers. And it's not for a man to say like they fell short or they're a failure if a divorce ended the way that it ended in this book. Is to look to make sure that, while you're providing all these things for your partner, ensuring that your partner's providing the things that they need for themselves, right? And I think we kind of missed the mark on that. And I think like healthy check-ins is essential. But of course that person has to be honest, transparent, and willing to take a look into themselves, willing to make sure that they're self-reflecting and being self-aware and always checking themselves, right? And not being afraid to jump out and try new things. Like, you have to have hobbies, you have to have friends outside of your person. But yes, I love this book. If you read this book, let me know. Again, I don't know what the next review is going to be. However, I'm just excited to be back. I'm so excited to be making videos again. And, if you guys have any questions for me, just drop it in the comments, DM me. Some of you guys DM me on Instagram, Wind Down with Books. So yeah, your girl is back and in full effect. Until next time.